we've looked at the various semantic possibilities for the word destroy. We've thought out the implications of each of the possible meanings, and we weighed our options. We looked at a few of the possibilities, and we chose the ones that we like better than the ones we don't like. Now it's time to consult some knowledgeable resources and bounce our ideas off of them, compare our notes to their notes. A knowledgeable resource could be your pastor teacher. It could be a knowledgeable friend. I think the best resource you have is a good scholarly commentary. And so that's what I'm going to model for you. Even though, if a beginning Bible college student, go to one of your professors and talk to him about that, about whatever it is you're kind of debating, and see how he reasons things out and learn from that. He or she, depending on where you go to school. So I've got 3 of my favorite commentaries here. I've got the New International Commentary on New Testament. I've got the International Critical Commentary and the New International Greek Testament Commentary. And these aren't probably the ones you would use, but these are the ones I like, so here we are. So let's compare our notes to their notes. I've read this, so I'm just going to summarize this for you. But this commentator here thinks that there's a wordplay happening here between moral corruption or defile and damage or destroy. So he's suggesting, let's bring this back up here, that in the first instance, when he says, if any man destroys, he's saying morally corrupts or defiles the temple of God. And in the second instance, it is destruction, or some kind of either complete annihilation or just very harsh destruction. And this commentator suggests that there's kind of a play between holiness and destroys here. I think my own personal opinion is the context doesn't really lend itself to that. But that was my original assessment, and now I've got to be honest that this guy's probably smarter than me, so I shouldn't just completely dismiss that possibility. So it doesn't mean I agree with him, but it just means that I should take into consideration that there's a great scholar who thinks that. And then I got to incorporate that into my own rationale. Now let's take a look at what somebody else says. Here I've got the ICC. Now, he says that to do this, to translate one, defile, and then destroy, he says it greatly mars the effect by doing that. And he's going to suggest that that's not the case, that they both are some form of destruction, but probably not complete destruction. There is some kind of something between destruction and annihilation that it is. So he's going to suggest it is not complete destruction, but maybe something more like ruin, but still a very strong form of destruction. That's interesting because that's about where I was laying. Now, if you were to take time to read this, he is a little stronger than just. He thinks when God ruins or destroys the person, it's more than just makes his life miserable. It is somewhere between make your life miserable and you're going to hell for it. So he says it is a pretty strong sense. Here we have in verse 17. I'm sorry, in Gordon Fee's commentary, he also seems to think it's like the commentary in the ICC that it can't be defile, and it's probably not annihilation, but it's somewhere in between. And actually, if you look closely here, he quotes this guy, and so these two are on the same page. Now, if we looked at 5 more commentaries, we'd probably see them level out a little bit. But now we understand their rationale. We can see why they're thinking that, and we implement it into our understanding. So once we take a look at their notes, our knowledgeable resources, we go back to the passage, and we make a decision. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's up to you to make an informed decision about what you think the Bible means, or in this case, what Paul means when he uses the word destroy. Now, I think the fact that Gordon Fee and Robertson, and I forget the other guy's name who wrote the ICC, the fact that they're pretty close to what I was describing means that I'm not too far from the track. I think that's okay. I do see a commentator thinking that is complete annihilation, and so that's a legitimate view. But I'm going to go ahead and stick to my guns in this and say this means some kind of destruction, but it's not complete annihilation. Now, one thing that these commentators emphasized that I didn't think was that it's more than just making your life miserable on earth, that there is some kind of stronger judgment that's not necessarily going to hell, but more than just made your life miserable. Now, that made me think a little bit, and it, when I look at it in context now, that kind of makes a lot more sense, because Paul does say that in his illustration that it's at the end time judgment that the person will suffer loss, even though he himself will be saved, as somebody escaping through the flames. So maybe there is more than I originally gave credit to. Maybe the person who ruins a temple of God or destroys it, not completely, but is severely tearing down the temple or breaking it up, will he himself be severely destroyed, even though not completely annihilated? There's some sense where at the end time there will be some kind of loss, a loss suffered, even though this person gets into heaven. So the commentators did reveal a part that that I didn't emphasize enough. But that's what I did. I weighed my options. I looked at the commentators, and I see, okay, I think in context this isn't complete annihilation. I don't think it's moral corruption, but it is some form of destroy between destruction or like ruining and complete annihilation. And I think in this sense it is somewhere maybe towards the end times when Jesus judges, there is some kind of punishment perhaps. The word destroy, it just seems to be too strong that commentators think it can't just be earthly punishment, but it also probably isn't complete obliteration. And it makes sense, I think, of the context and of Paul's theology elsewhere. At the end of the day, that's our decision, and we can talk knowledgeably about this now. And so even though we could be wrong, we know why we believe what we believe. We know what scholars think, and we're not arrogant about it. We come humbly when somebody disagrees with us and has a different view. We discuss why they think that, and we talk knowledgeably about it. And we're humbly because we know ultimately we could be wrong. We don't know for sure. But at least we've gone through the entire process. We've done an appropriate word study, and now we know what we're talking about. And I think that's how you do a word study.